Hello, friends. I welcome you all to virtual learning online platform. In this presentation, I would like to talk on William Blake as a poet and his famous poem, The Poison Tree. Friends, I hope you know William Blake is one of the very prominent romantic poets born on 28th of November 1757 and died on 12th of August 1827. He was an English poet, painter, and a printmaker as well. But one unfortunate thing about William Blake is he was not recognized during his lifetime. Of course, there are a few seminal contributions by William Blake. His poetry, paintings, of course, created a new taste among the audience. According to a few critics, whatever he wrote was prophetic, and that's why the contemporaries of his life could not understand whatever he wrote. As I said, he was a painter, poet, engraver, and more specifically, in my view, he was a visionary. Whatever contributions he made in these domains, that really worked out a lot for him, and he put an effort to bring about a change not only in the social order of his time, but he also tried to change the mindset of the contemporary people. But one thing, as I discussed earlier also, throughout his life or lifetime, whatever contributions he made to the world of poetry, to the world of painting, that was largely neglected and dismissed by the contemporaries. I hope you know a very famous name, Alexander Gilchrist, who wrote Life of William Blake, published in 1863. He warned his readers that Blake neither wrote nor drew for many, rather for children and angels. So this sort of statement is made about. But the people took a lot of time to understand William Blake as a poet. As I said, he was a prominent poet of the Romantic age. But you also need to know, what do you mean by the Romantic age? Actually, the Romantic age was an artistic, literary, music, and intellectual movement that was organized and originated in Europe towards the end of 18th century. Maybe some other time I might have talked about William Wordsworth and Estes Coleridge. These two friends came together and published a book, Lyrical Ballads, in 1798. And that was considered to be the epoch-making book and publication in the realm. And this romantic moment is considered to be started from that particular point of time. In general, the approximate period of Romanticism or Romantic period or Romantic age is considered to be from 1800 century to 1850. But the publication of these lyrical ballads, and especially a preface written by William Wordsworth, was really an instrumental one in the entire movement. And here you will find that the poet like William Blake, belonging to the same generation or belonging to the same movement called Romanticism. And whenever you remember the Romanticists, you always remember William Blake as well. Tiger, Tiger, Burning Bright in the Forest of the Night is one of the very famous poems written by William Blake. He is regarded as the most original of the Romantic poets. But unfortunately, a few people, maybe intentionally, or maybe his adversaries in the field, thought that he was a mad person. But the point is, whatever he wrote, whatever he presented, that was really beyond the reach and understanding of the contemporary. He wrote wonderful lyrics, and the publication that you get in 1794 called Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. This is the remarkable contribution by this great personality. As I said, he was a painter as well, and he painted a number of scenes from the works of John Milton, Dante, William Shakespeare, and there are a few scenes also that he painted from the Holy Bible. And that's why his works, like the Songs of Experience and Songs of Innocence, are classed as the prophetic books, such as the visions of, some other books written by him are the visions of the Daughters of Albion, published in 1793, the first book of Urizen, published in 1798, Milton, published in 1810, and Jerusalem, published in 1812. these books are deeply philosophical. So many abstract ideas are presented by him, but unfortunately, the contemporary people of his time could not understand whatever contributions he made to the world of literature. He engraved, colored, painted, stitched, and sold these works with the help of his wife. And some of his highly appreciated poems are The Lamb from the Songs of Innocence and The Tiger from the Songs of Experience. And The Lamb and the Tiger actually work as a literary symbol. And another poem is also making the similar contribution, that is London. The lyric written from, or the concept taken from John Milton, which is also a very popular one called Jerusalem. And it has become a kind of second national anthem in Britain. So here we are going to learn a poem written by such a great poet, a romanticist, a painter, an engraver, that is William Blake. In the course of time, but not during his lifetime, he has become one of the most favorite poets in the academic circle, and especially in the modern period, he is appreciated and adulated a lot. His Songs of Experience contain the poems like, making an appeal to the modern readers, and a number of scholars of literature also, take up this opportunity to present a radical stand of this man in questioning some of the schemes of God in the views of William Blake. So friends, we are going to learn a poem titled as A Poison Tree, written by William Blake. As far as this poem is concerned, it is taken from William Blake's Songs of Innocence and of Experience, published in 1794. It is a collection of poetry, that of William Blake, in which Blake compared two different worlds of human understanding. One is the world of purity, and another is the world of virtue. See here, it is combined together in the Songs of Innocence. Purity combined together with virtue. And this, you can say, the world of innocence. All the poems written by William Blake, and especially published first under the first title, that is anthology of poetry called Songs of Innocence. So this takes this lamb as a symbol of innocence. And the poet has mainly talked about the purity and virtue. On the other hand, you have another world of experience, the world of vice, the world of corruption. See, the first one is world of virtue. Virtue versus vice, V-I-C-E. Okay, so the first one is the world of purity and virtue. And the second one is the world of impurity, the world of vice, the world of corruption. And that's why this particular, anthology called the Songs of Experience, a collection of poems that mainly talks about the vice of the people, the impurity of the people, the corruption in the mind of the people, and in their practice as well. So very effectively, he has exercised on this theme and created a contradiction in two different books that he published. That is, the first one is against the second one. The Songs of Innocence and the Songs of Experience. Both are standing against each other. So the part Songs of Experience has 26 poems, including a poison tree. And today, the poem that we are going to discuss is taken from the Songs of Experience, in which you find 26 total number of poems, and one of them is a poison tree. Now the question is, what is this poison tree all about? Do we have the poisonous trees around us? This part is an expression of grief regarding the ways in which the tough experiences of adult life destroy the innocence of the earlier phase or the growing up years in the human life. This is the actual theme. If you really get into the details of this poem, you will realize that the poet is taking you back to the stories of the Holy Bible. I hope you know, Adam and Eve are considered to be the first man and woman on the surface of the earth, according to the belief in the Christianity, according to the Holy Bible. If you come forward, you have the Holy Quran that also refers that Adam and Hawa are also considered to be the first man and woman coming onto the surface of the earth. If you come down to the Indian subcontinent, you have the Hindu religion here, and according to Hindu beliefs, Manu is considered to be the first man who was placed by the Brahma, the creator of the universe, on this planet. So different religions, different beliefs. I'm not getting into the details and the final details of all these religions and the kind of beliefs that they have. My point is to discuss about the transformation of human beings from innocence to experience. The present poem actually talks about how the innocence of Adam and Eve is destroyed in the course of time, and then they come to the next phase of their life when they experience the whole world around. As this poem has a musical touch, that's why it is also called a song, and it gives you a very nice composition also. The poem actually recounts a very common emotional reaction called anger, about which the narrator of this poem mainly talks about. It is a poem written by William Blake in a very simple, lucid, easy language, but it has its value because of the emotional content which is processed by the poet. Of course, the simplicity of the poem and the familiarity of its emotional content have made this poem as one of the most appreciated and admired poems written by William Blake. But it actually talks about the different types of, vices that we have developed in the course of time. Sometimes you might have heard that the man is the bundle of mistakes. What I think personally, if you start, pointing out the errors in other people, the mistakes of the other people, automatically you will have a big collection of mistakes and errors, and that's why you will be called the bundle of mistakes. But I say, why don't you collect the virtues from the other people around? If you start collecting the virtues from other people around, automatically you will become the bundle of virtues. And here in this poem, the poet is talking about Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. These are the few words that you might have heard for so many times in your family, around you, or wherever you have some philosophical implications. And these are treated to be the demons surviving around us. If at all you become the victim of one of them, automatically you are finished, you are done. So unless you have control on your own, emotional factors, and especially related to all these things, especially anger, mind it well, you will not be able to really control yourself throughout your life. And this poem that talks about a poison tree, the question is, what do you mean by a poison tree? Those who are the experts of botany, probably they may know about a number of poisonous trees which are found around us, or especially there in the jungle. But are we really talking about such kind of poisonous tree? No. We are not talking about such kind of poisonous tree. We are talking about a poison tree that became responsible for the transformation of human beings from innocence to experience. How it happened? See, science does not believe in all these things. Already I told you, and I gave the reference of the holy scripture like the Bible. And the story goes back to the Bible and tells you about the formation of Adam and Eve on the surface of the earth, and they started living in the paradise. See, there is a difference between the paradise, heaven, and hell. But you actually need to go back again. Unless you understand the difference between the gods and demons, the conflict between the god and demons, and unless you know about the adversaries of the god, especially Saturn and Saturn's mind, the satanic ideas to destroy God and the human generation, this is all well connected, mind. And unless I discuss about it, you will not be able to understand this poem called A Poison Tree. Let us go back to the pages of the Holy Bible. You know that the gods are expected to be, or believed to be there in the heaven. The demons are thrown down to the hell. And whereas you have in between the earth that you call a paradise in terms of the Holy Bible, and human beings are surviving over here. Right? So now you might have understood. There you have the heaven. Here you have the hell. And in between here you have the earth that is there in the Bible called paradise. It is believed that God has created human beings out of the crust of soil. And that's why we say we are made up of clay. We eat clay and we will get into the clay. हम मिट्टी के बने हैं, हम मिट्टी खाते हैं, और हम एक दिन मिट्टी में ही दफन हो जाएंगे. This kind of thing is called. Now you will say that, सर आपने कहा कि हम मिट्टी खाते हैं. हाँ, जो कुछ भी खेतों में उपजता है, जो कुछ आप उगाते हो, जो हमारा खेत खलियान देखने वाला, खेती करने वाला जो फार्मर है, जो हमारे लिए कुछ उगाता है, वो मिट्टी से ही तो बनता है. और अंततः हमारे मृत्यु के बाद, once we die, either we will be cremated or buried under the ground. और जमीन के नीचे दफन करने के बाद कुछ सालों बाद या कुछ महीनों बाद अगर उसके आप खोलेंगे तो हमारी पूरी बॉडी एक्सेप्ट द बोन्स will be converted into the crust of soil. इसलिए हम ऐसा कहते हैं, आदमी मिट्टी का बना है, मिट्टी खाता है और एक दिन मिट्टी में ही जाएगा. So this sort of thing is generally said as far as human existence is concerned. And the story takes you back to the Holy Bible. The adversaries of the God, that is Satan and his companions, did not like the creation of God, that is the man. Adam and Eve started living there in the paradise with 100% innocence. What do you mean by innocence? In Marathi, you call it nishpap. Innocence means nishpap. You just take a small child, maybe less than a year or so. You always say, so innocent, so cute, kind of thing. That sort of innocence was there in Adam and Eve. Now the story starts. What happens? There is always a conflict between God and demon, that is God and Satan. Satan tried a lot for many times to overcome the God, but he failed to do so. Finally, he thought that I may not overcome the God, I may not be victorious against the God, then I will adopt a new strategy. Instead of making any damage to the God, I will try to damage the creation of God. See, this is satanic mind. This is called satanic mind. Right? And then Satan decided that instead of making any assault on the God, he decided to make an assault on human beings. Who are the human beings? Only one Adam and one Eve. These two are living on the surface of the earth called paradise. Now, both of them are very innocent there, just like a childlike innocence. What happens then? This Satan takes the form of a serpent. First of all, it intrudes into the premises, into the zone of this earth. First of all, Saturn intrudes into the paradise, takes the shape of a serpent that you call snake, and in the form of the snake, it keeps on monitoring Adam and Eve, both. Because unless he understands Adam and Eve, Saturn would not have made any damage. And that's why, in the form of the serpent, in the form of a snake, Saturn started monitoring, observing the activities of Adam and Eve, and then finally decided that I may not be able to tempt Adam, but I will be successful in tempting Eve, and then I'll see how best I can do to destroy Adam and Eve. So here I would like to stop. Why do I stop over here? Because here I begin to talk about a kind of story over there in the Holy Bible that takes Eve towards a tree. She happened to eat or taste the fruits of the forbidden tree because of the temptation created by Satan. And then what actually happens, that I will not tell you now, you need to wait for a day to understand the whole story behind. Right? So I'll just put a pause over here and let you know about the biblical story that lets you know about Adam, Eve, Satan, and a forbidden tree. I'm using the word forbidden tree. Forbid means prohibit, and that is called the fall of man. So, what is this concept called fall of man? What actually happens in the respect of Adam and Eve after testing the fruits of that tree? Why the poet is calling it a poison tree, whether it is really a poison tree or not, that you will come to know about in my next class tomorrow. Thank you very much.